This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
It's time for the Wrestling Perspective Podcast. I'm Dennis Farrell. He's Impact legend Petey Williams.
Legend, how's she going, eh?
It's going good. We've got a lot to talk about. We'll talk about the tapings, you and Scott Steiner. We'll talk about our friend Chris Sabin coming up here in a little bit. We'll talk a little bit about the Petey Williams contract negotiation. You like how
Oh, wow, okay.
Should we lead off at least with the negotiation?
Yeah, sure.
Let's lead off with that. Well, as we've talked in past episodes, you are on I'd say a month-to-month contract with Impact, and you're more than happy to be there. But you've recently been kind of flirting or negotiating with Impact management for a long-term contract.
Yeah, I mean, I can't get specifically into details. It's confidential. But, it came down to it that right now for both parties, it's not a good time to proceed in a long-term contract. So, it's to be determined. See what happens in the future. That's about it. It was a lengthy talk, and that's just where we stood at the end of it, and kind of handshake at the end. And, we talked about Petey Williams and his future with the company, and, don't expect to be like, oh, okay, Petey Williams is done. Nope, that's absolutely not it. It's just, it's kind of like a status quo thing going on right now.
Business as usual with you. You'll still show up. You'll still do backstage stuff. It's just you're going to still be on a month-to-month contract. Pretty much. It's not like a month-to-month contract. It's more like dates, like per appearance, kind of like a X amount of dates kind of deal. Okay.
It's the best way to put it, I guess.
So it's one of those things where we assume Petey will be at just about all the tapings and helping out backstage, but we're not going to make anything official.
Yeah, I'll confirm that I'll be at, I'm pretty sure, all the TV tapings, not all the Impact Pluses and Twitch shows and all that kind of stuff, but all the TV tapings and pay-per-views, whether I'm, in some sort of backstage producing role or, on camera. Like, I'm looking at getting back, like, actually doing some wrestling more. Like, maybe doing both. I don't know. I kind of miss it, doing it all the time.
I really think they miss the boat, and I'm speaking 90% as a fan. You are one of the few, if not the only original TNA guy still left, right? Let's look up and down. Minus Scott D'Amore, who doesn't really do much on screen at all. Are you're the only TNA guy there still?
Former TNA guy?
Yeah.
I would probably say, yeah. I remember Abyss was for the longest time, as well as, Sanjay, I like to look at as an original as well, because he was there since the early days. But people that were there when it was actually TNA, I don't really think there's anybody that comes to mind.
Rhino doesn't count because he just came back.
Yeah, Rhino just came back, and he was there. Like TNA was he was in WWE when TNA was like getting the ball rolling and stuff like that, and that's when other people started to jump ship over to TNA back in the day. So would I count him as an original?
No.
That's debatable, but when I look at Rhino, I look at him as like, an ECW guy or a WWE guy that, comes to TNA, because he was only with TNA. I think he had 2 stints there, one for a year, then another one, I think, or I really can't remember, but he is a former NWA TNA champion, heavyweight champion. So, you kind of look at him as an original.
See, I don't. I look at him as you said, ECW, WWE guy.
Yeah, he made his name somewhere else prior. Like, so that when I look at a TNA guy, it's like, okay, they made their name with TNA. That's how I look at a TNA original.
But here's why I wouldn't view him as a TNA guy compared to you, is because he just left WWE to come back to Impact, right? So there's some newness. Now, if he's been there 2 or 3 years alongside you, I might be able to lump him in because he's doing his time back inside the company. But seeing that he's only been there for like hours. I can't call him an original TNA guy yet.
No, and I mean I can't remember if it's second or third stint here, but even like RVD, this was his second stint with us. So guys come and go, they always do. And but yeah, I like to look at it as an original, as a guy that made themselves like an AJ Styles or something, or Chris Daniels. Even though they were in Ring of Honor and stuff, I feel like they made their name in TNA.
With that being said, I really would like to see Impact do more callbacks, more, because and I think we were talking about this off the air, and I'm looking at this as A, as a fan, B, as your friend. There's a disconnect between Impact now and TNA, which they've done an amazing job separating it, but there still has to be some sort of legacy. Like, here's Petey Williams. This is the guy that's been here from the beginning. He's still here. The only time he left was when we fired him. You know what I mean? And they don't do that when you're on screen, and I feel that's a loss for history of Impact and TNA.
Yeah, and what's a good storyline I just thought of when you were talking was, you talk about guys from the past and stuff. Why not have some guys that you don't even know where they're at right now? They come back like a TNA past to wrestle. Maybe it's me, maybe it's somebody else has an angle going on of like former TNA guys. He's going to run through them, whatever the case may be, until he gets to that one guy that we bring back and stops him, all that kind of stuff. I think that'd be a good storyline.
It'd be fun if the budget was there to have like a TNA reunion show versus Impact talent.
That's good. That is really good. But you got to remember, a lot of the guys that are TNA originals that people are like, oh, they were the guys there. I mean, they're all contracted other places right now. So that'd be tough.
True, but I'd still like to see that. I mean, it'd be probably just you and Amazing Red then.
Me and Amazing Red, who is in the Super Junior Cup, by the way. He, I guess, came out of retirement for this one, or whatever the case may be. So that's exciting. He's been going at it for 20 years. This is his first Super Junior Cup. So congrats to, as Dusty Rhodes would say, congrats to Baby Red.
Baby Red?
That's what he used to call him, Baby Red.
Oh, that's awesome. So that would be the only thing I think I would do different with you if you were to come back, is try to at least push a little bit of the PD legacy. I would love to see, and once again, as a friend, I'd love to see you make one more run as an X Division champion, just to put over the next group of X Divisions, because I look at some of these guys, and I'm very, very friendly, and I'm friends with a lot of the X Division guys. But I don't feel the same connection to that X Division championship as I did when it was you and AJ Styles and Chris Sabin and all those guys.
Well, I mean, I'll tell you what, Rich Swann did a hell
phenomenal
of a job, like being the X Division champion. Rich Swann, I feel, is like one of our best. We're not one of the best in the world. I really like Rich. But I mean, he had his run and stuff like that, and it's time to pass it on. And the one thing right now is, and this was always tough about the X Division. Always. It always was. This isn't a new thing. But we have these matches and do phenomenal things in the ring and stuff like that. It's hard to find like a true heel that somebody wants to boo. Like Jake Christ, he's that guy. Like he's always the guy that's in as the bad guy in the matches. When we have if you look back on our multiple man matches, Jake Christ is in there, being the bad guy that can be the heel. And, it paid off for him, because now he's the X Division champion, I mean, but right now, I mean, if you look at our other heels in the X Division, yeah, I mean, we lack them right now. Do I like being a heel? Absolutely. Can I do that? Do I think it's possible to do it right now like that in my career? I think that it's possible if we do it right, but would it be believable? I don't know. Just because I'm at that stage right now where people are like, well, we're going to cheer him because he's Petey, and he's it would have been hard to boo Jerry Lynn when he's been around for so long. Kind of like, I'm kind of getting that kind of vibe now from the fans, where it's like, oh, we can't boo him because he's been around for so long.
I disagree. I think you would need a drastic change in your look. Yeah. If you're going to get some sort of pop in Canada, and I'm not talking about like the cheap change where you're carrying around an American flag in Canada or anything stupid like that. I'd be disappointed if that was the route they had you go as being a heel. I would like to see you'd have to turn on somebody beloved in Canada in order to get the booze. I mean, out of nowhere. And then start coming out just all in black. Don't even wear the Canadian flag anymore. You just come out in all in black. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. Obviously, I wouldn't be able to parade around the Canadian flag or anything anything like that. But, I mean, yeah, it's doable. It's just it would be tough. But, yeah, I mean, I could be that heel. I have no problem being a heel. I played a heel pretty much my entire X Division career. This is the only time I've ever been a babyface in Impact, pretty much.
If you look back, and I'm saying going forward now, what kind of heel would you want to be? I mean, who would you fashion your heel character after now?
I like those guys that like if you look at somebody like a Sami Callihan, he just got that smug look, you know, he looks and he just doesn't allow people to cheer him. You know what I mean? Anytime you don't try to do anything cute or anything like that in the ring, which is tough because I have the Canadian Destroyer, but people, you know, don't see it as cute anymore. So that's another thing. But yeah, that's what I mean. Like true heels that don't try to do anything cute, because a lot of heels, they try to do something good looking in the ring or whatever because they're trying to get a job or trying to get over or whatever the case may be. A good heel just like goes out there and like lets fans boo them. They just get under the fans' skin and say whatever they want.
I would like to see a Petey Williams almost egotistical, as we call back to our earlier conversation, egotistical legends attitude where you remind everybody that, you know, you are the man, you're the greatest, you've been around forever, and you deserve it.
That'd be great. I mean, I'd be all for that. That'd probably be the easiest route to go. It kind of writes itself, I think.
I think you're right. And Impact doesn't have that. That's a unique heel that Impact doesn't have. Somebody that says, hey, you know what? The X Division title is my birthright because I've been here this long.
Yeah, absolutely. See, you got it, Dennis. You know what you're talking about.
I've learned from the best.
Yeah.
So, and by the way, congratulations to Chris Sabin, who was down at the WWE Performance Center training some new recruits. Yeah,
he was the guest, what do you call
trainer.
It? Guest trainer or whatever the case may be. So good for him. Hopefully this is, something opening up for him. He's not under contract anywhere. So, hopefully I really don't want to see Sabin be done with the wrestling part of it. He'd be a great trainer. Like I've trained with him and stuff like that. Done seminars with him. He's great. I just think he has so much more fuel left in the tank where he can actually still be a performer and stuff.
I would love, and I'm once again, as a guy who's a friend of Impact, I'd love to see him make a run in Impact. I don't necessarily, unless he's with the Motor City Machine Guns, I don't know if WWE or NXT would take good care of him. As far as, and this is just, you look at the majority of TNA Impact guys who have made the jump to NXT, WWE, and the majority of them had phenomenal NXT runs, but subpar WWE runs. And I'm not using Samoa Joe or AJ Styles in this conversation, although I think Samoa Joe has kind of overcome this where he just had his first title, a few months ago, and he's been up on the main roster for almost 2 years?
Yeah, but a title doesn't always, and we've talked about this before, a title doesn't always make a person. I mean, look at Jake the Snake. He's never had a title in WWE history. So it depends. Like they always set up guys that, you're going to be that guy that, and if you look at Joe, he's been losing a lot. Like he sets up to, the next big like baby face or whatever to go on and feud with whoever the world champion is at the time. That's kind of like what Jake the Snake did, but like in the opposite role. You're right. Like I think going back to Chris Sabin and Alex Shelley there, I think they do have a lot more value as a tag team than individually. I could be wrong, but I think they would. You look at WWE, who's always been about size and stuff like that. guys like Chris Sabin and Alex Shelley, they're exhibition wrestlers. That's their style. That's what they do. If you put them together as a tag team, they're going to knock it out of the park.
I will say that I could see him now being a Impact champion, a Ring of Honor champion, maybe even in some sort of AEW champion now, but I just don't have faith that WWE or NXT would know how to use him the right way.
Yeah, I think they both have that, Alex Shelley and Chris Sabin individually, and they both have proven it that they can be great singles wrestlers. You put those two together, I just mean there's money there. I think anywhere they go in the world, Motor City Machine Guns, could tear it up.
Have you heard the rumors that Shelley's been rolling around in a ring?
Well, yeah, he returned at Ring of Honor, and he's going to be wrestling again and all that kind of stuff. So. Yeah, I knew he'd come back. I know he said he was done and all that kind of stuff. It's just that I know
we've said it on the podcast.
Yeah, I knew eventually he'd come back, and he did. Hey, we were right.
I would love. Here's the thing about Alex Shelley, and I tell the story about the time you and I went to a Ring of Honor show. And how scary talking to Bully Ray was, right? How intimidating of a guy he is. Believe it or not, Alex Shelley is 100 times more intimidating.
Well, I mean, Alex Shelley's very quick-witted and stuff like that. If he wants to, he can make you feel like the biggest fool in the room, or he could be your best friend in the room. That's the type of that's how good he is at talking to people and stuff. So, yeah, no, I mean, I would agree with that.
Oh, we should try to get Shelley on just to say hi.
Yeah, he'll come on, he'll say hi, and then leave. Like, I guarantee that's what he'll do.
I absolutely believe that, by the way. Let's talk about the tapings over the weekend. I guess over the weekend's the right way to put that. You guys did an Impact Plus show for Unbreakable in California. You know what? Let me start out with saying there were pictures floating around, and I don't know if he was backstage, but Jericho was hanging around.
Jericho was hanging around?
Yeah, there was pictures of Jericho.
I didn't see him.
He might have been there with Callis and D'Amore like after the show, but there were pictures popping up of D'Amore and Callis with Jericho.
Oh, well, I mean, I was only there on the Friday. We had 3 shows. One was the Impact Plus on Friday, August 2nd. August 3rd was our Twitch show, and then August 4th were TV tapings. I was only able to commit to the Friday show. And so, I mean, I left pretty much like right when the show was done, and because I had to hop on, my flight to go back home and all that kind of stuff.
Jet.
So, yeah, I didn't see any Jericho. I no Y2J spotting. So this is the first I'm hearing of this.
Your private jet?
No, I mean, I share it with Chris Jericho.
Well, that's nice of you. Hey, let him taste.
Wait, did I just say I didn't see him? Oh, okay.
Let him have a little taste of that Petey Williams money.
Yeah, that's right. My 9-figure contract
per date.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, for the TV tapings, I had a blast, Dennis. I mean, I had so much fun. It was something that has been in the works for a while. Everybody knows that myself, Jordan Grace, and Scott Steiner were teaming up for the King of Trios in Chikara. And D'Amore was like, hey, I like that idea, so I'm putting it on my show, right? So why not? It was a great idea. Got to give up Mike Quackenbush for, getting it all together. But I hope this is not just a one-time thing. I just had so much fun. I would love to keep doing it. I think I'm sitting there in the ring during the match, before the match, after the match. I can already see, I have like dozens of storylines going on in my head. I'm like, oh my God, this is what we can do. This is what we can do. This is what we can do. And I think we have so much like TV material that we can do with that. But it was a great time. I mean, when we came out, it was, the place was great. Scott Steiner's promo was hilarious. He gets it now. I know people on the internet and stuff, they think that like we're making fun of Scott and his math and stuff like that. He gets it now. He's in on the joke. He talks about math and stuff like that and adds new math for his promos, and the place absolutely eats it up. So Scott gets it. He definitely does.
Let me start with this question. Impact doing this match now, do you think that takes away from the excitement of King of Trios down the line?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, in all honesty, like if you watched it on the Impact Plus app, then you've seen it. You'll just see us against 3 different people. But you know, and it's tough. Like the match is tough because what we have in the match is you have me, and then you have Jordan Grace, who's a female. You can't really have guys punching females in the face and stuff like that, or taking a heat on a female. That's tough. And then you have Scott, who's, you know, near the end of his wrestling career, and he still goes, he's still throwing suplexes and stuff like that, but not as agile as he used to be, obviously. So, you know, you'll see a lot of Petey Williams in the match if you haven't watched it, because, you know, who's going to do a lot of the work that makes sense psychology-wise in this match? It's going to be me, until Scott Steiner saves the day. So...
All right, so let's start with backstage. You guys get together. I've seen your process. I know how you like to do things, because there's a period where you're with the guys figuring things out, and then you go off alone and go over stuff in your head as you stretch. You see Scotty. How was the initial, Scotty, what's up?
Oh, yeah, it was great. You know, we you know, did the whole, you know, shooting the breeze. We were eating. You know, asking me where I live now and all that kind of stuff, or if I'm still living in the same place. I'm asking about his kid, you know, just like catching up old times, that boring stuff that people don't really care about, except for him and I. So we get caught up, and then after we get caught up, I say, okay, you know, this is what we got. Then it's down to business. This is what we got going on, and blah, blah, blah. And, you know, he threw out an idea, and I was like, okay, let's see if I can make this happen. And eventually we got all together. And it's kind of funny because wrestling, let's talk about the evolution of wrestling. Wrestling has evolved since, you know, the 80s, 90s, even 10 years ago. It's evolved, you know, and if you watch any wrestling match from the 80s or 90s, it's like tag team match. You know, you make a tag to your partner, the babyface comes in, he clears house, and they pretty much finish up the match relatively quick. Nowadays, the psychology of wrestling is not like that. I mean, it goes to that, but then you build it up more and more and more. And this is kind of how I was talking about before, like how there's no true heels left, because the heels before were just bump and feed, and the comeback bump and feed, and that's it. Maybe they cheat to win, or maybe they would lose, or whatever the case may be. But now, you know, you got the heels doing false finishes at the end and stuff like that. That's unheard of back in the 80s and 90s. So when we're calling the match, I thought it was not funny, but Scott's like, you know, he gets the comeback and stuff, and I said, yeah, and we'll do this, and this afterwards. And everybody's afraid of Scott, so they don't want to say anything to Scott, everybody else in the match. And he just looks at me and he goes, that doesn't make sense. And I said, I know it doesn't. And he goes, well, then why are we doing it? I'm like, that's just the way it's done now. And he said, did somebody change the psychology of wrestling? And I laughed, and I'm like, kind of, like, yeah. And then, so we met on a happy meeting and stuff like that, because he's absolutely right. It doesn't make sense. Like, Scott Steiner comes in, okay, if you're looking at this, like, he clears house, gives the guys clotheslines and suplexes and stuff like that, and then the guy gets up. Either Scott Steiner is really weak, or that other guy is really strong. So when you look at the psychology of wrestling, he's absolutely right. So we take the evolution of what it is today. It doesn't make sense, but that's just the way the fans are conditioned to watching it now, and the wrestlers are doing things. So it's just interesting, that dynamic of like when you're putting this match together and stuff like that. But again, great time, because, you know, Scott Steiner doing a Frankensteiner off the top rope at whatever he is, 57 years old. I mean, this is crazy. I hope I can do that like in 20 years from now.
Oh my gosh, I saw a little bit of the highlights of that, and I even saw the little bit of the tush slap that he gave Jordan.
Yeah, I mean, that's fine. Like, so he cleared that beforehand, okay? I don't want to give up Scott, but like, don't start saying, oh, sexual harassment and stuff like that. It was cleared beforehand. If Jordan didn't want to do it, she would have said no. It fits into the character of, she's considered thick mama pump, and he's big papa pump, and he's got freaks and all that kind of stuff. It's Scott Steiner.
Let's talk a little bit, and I don't know how much of a conversation it was. You're about to go back out on the Impact Plus app for your 3-man tag team, match. You look over, and he's coming out with an NWO shirt.
Was he wearing an NWO shirt?
He was wearing.
I don't think he was.
He was.
I know he wrestled at Bar Wrestling the night before. Joey Ryan's promotion, he had an NWO shirt. Was he wearing an NWO shirt?
Yep.
Okay. Well, if you say so, then you say so. Yeah, I think that's totally fine. You should have seen the shirt Jordan Grace was wearing all around backstage that day.
Whoa.
It had Scott Steiner on the front, but he looked like Einstein, like the hair, the Einstein hair and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And on the back, it had that math promo on there, like verbatim. And I told Scott beforehand, I said, listen, man, you're going to do that exact same promo in the ring. She's going to stand in front of you. And if you get lost, you just have to look at her shirt and start reading it.
What did he, were you there when he saw the shirt? He's like, nice shirt.
Yeah. I said, look at this shirt. And I think he said like he was the one that designed it.
Really?
So he gets it, man. He knows, like he as soon as he got in the ring with this promo, he started saying like, I don't even know how he said it, but he's like, you guys need to look up. How did he say it? He goes, everybody's so worried about social media and their followers and their Facebook and stuff like that. Well, what you need to do is you need to Google one thing, and that's Steiner math. And people are like, yeah, Steiner math. And then he talked about having 141 and 2/3% chance of winning. And then he started talking about me having like dog years and 7 years, and then timesing it. And then, it just got all out of hand. And then people are going nuts because he's doing math again.
Oh my God! So you think that's his new shtick, huh?
Why not? I mean, Steiner math is like super over. So the thing is, I don't think, if you remember back at Redemption, like probably 2 years ago, he came back and they fit us in a little segment together. It wasn't written in, but then they wrote it in really quick on the show for our pay-per-view. And I told Scott, I said, hey man, can you do another math problem? And he goes, no, it has to add up. And I've talked about this before. And then he ended up doing it. And I think he sees that, man, this is really over, me doing math. So I think it was lost in translation for the longest time, because that promo, that first one he did, the math one, was done like in like 11 years ago. And then all that 11 years, well, then it was 2017. So 9 years later, when I got him to do another math promo, or ish, kind of like, talking about 2/3 and 1/8 and stuff like that, people were like, yeah, that's awesome. And then I think he saw it blow up and he was like, huh, this is something here. I could be like a math wizard. So he's been doing math promos ever since.
All right. I don't hate it. By the way, you guys signed Tanel Dashwood. Nice signing.
Yeah, this will be, and I don't know, if she'll be at the Mexico tapings or whatever. We get the Mexico tapings coming up next week. I haven't heard anything, so I'll probably know more when I get to Mexico.
I'm excited for that. I think that's a huge signing right there.
Yeah, that brings a lot to the table there. I mean, and we've been going in the right direction. You saw that, Rhino just re-debuted like less than a month ago. Mm-hmm. We have Rob Van Dam. Like, so slowly but surely we're going to start, you're going to see more people on our show, and just things are going to get better. Things are looking up.
I was excited to see what you guys have been doing. I like the Rhino signing. I would like it a lot more if you let Rhino be Rhino. It be funny. I want funny Rhino, Petey.
No, you don't want funny Rhino.
I do.
So if you watch the Impact Plus show that we had, Unbreakable, Rhino is the old Rhino, like ECW Rhino. Like, he's cursing and stuff like that, throwing chairs around. Like,
no, I saw
Rhino is like, he's the guy that's going to go out there and beat the crap out of you. Like, that's how he was in ECW. And it's always good for a change to be like funny Rhino. And there's always a room for that. But and you and I know, because we've talked to him, and he is hilarious. It's just that funny, they always say funny doesn't draw money. Serious Rhino that beats your butt and just kicks the tar out of you, that's the Rhino I think people want to see.
All right. There's been talk that, and I've heard people, because I belong to a bunch of Impact Facebook pages, right? And one of the interesting things was they would like to see like a Team Canada come back, but in the way of the North.
Yeah, I mean, I think that just writes itself, and I don't think it's a matter of if it'll happen. And maybe it won't. I don't know. It's probably a matter of when it will happen. I just right now I don't think it's the right. Is it the right time? Possibly. I mean, right now the North have so much steam; they don't need a group per se. I'd say you're looking at. I'd like to do a Team Canada. I mean, I really would, but I'm having so much fun with this. Steiner and Jordan Grace, the Pump family or whatever you want to call it.
Pump family.
The Pump family. I don't know. That's people are saying. But yeah, I mean, I would love to do another Team Canada with like the North, Michael Elgin. I mean, heck, half our roster is Canadian now. I mean, you could pick and choose who you want to pick for Team Canada.
With everything Impact does, I'd like to see them do some sort of, a fun takeoff of some of that early to mid 80s stuff for NWA, WCW that worked. Like, I loved the Battle Bowl concept. I think the Battle, and if you don't remember Battle Bowl or you are not a WCW guy, it was basically everybody's name on the roster would go into a hat, essentially. You pull out two names in their tag team, and then you pull
we just did that.
Did you?
Just did we just did and it was on a Impact Plus show. So if you don't, it's tough because we have Impact Plus, we have our TV show. I know like some people just follow the TV show and they just are like, I don't have Impact Plus or whatever the case may be. But yeah, they kind of, I can't remember what it was called, but it was like odd pairings. So for example, and here what the winner was, and this is culminated at Unbreakable. Tessa Blanchard and Sami Callihan were a tag team. And then I think Willie Mack and I don't know, Michael Elgin was tag team. And there's a bunch of different tag teams. I think Dave, Chris, your other co-host for your other show was tag teams with Trey from the Rascals. So anyways, it was a tag team tournament and the winning team got to face each other for Impact World title shot. So Tessa and Sammy won, and then now you saw Impact Plus. They fought each other, and the winner gets a Impact World title shot. And at Impact Plus, the Unbreakable, that's when Sami Callihan beat Tessa again.
I like that idea. I'm glad that happened. I'm sad. I'm gonna have to go back and watch.
Yeah, it was really good, and that's the thing. We have a lot of content out there that people are missing a lot. They think Impact Plus just another I don't know, WWE Network or something like that. No, there's original content on there. If you just watch our TV show, then you're missing when this past weekend Unbreakable. You had Sammy and Tessa go against each other. Winner's the number one contender, and then prior to that, they had the tag team mashup. I can't remember what it was called. The something mashup, and the winner faces each other for the title. And then you had me, Steiner, and Jordan Grace. You don't see that on on our TV yet. So yeah, Impact Plus we're doing a lot of good things there. We're making it a monthly thing, and it's good.
Let's move on before we wrap up because there's a bunch of stuff I want to get to. Can you tell me a good Harley Race story? Recently passed away. I loved Harley. I had the chance to talk to him a few times. It was before I even got into the wrestling podcast business. I was at a casino in St. Louis many times. It was his favorite. And I didn't know if you ever had a Harley Race story.
I really don't. Harley, he was around in the earlier days, the TNA days. Him and his wife were around, and it was great meeting him. I can't remember any storylines we did on TV or anything like that, but it was good to meet a living legend like himself. But nothing funny. I mean, he watched the show, he interacted with guys that he knew from back in the day and everything. But it was great meeting him. I mean, I don't have anything funny that I can make something up, but I'm not going to do that.
Let's move on. NWA. It's one of my biggest, I guess, I like to critique them that they've run this whole roaming champion angle a little bit too long. They needed to upstart and start doing some sort of promotion, and Billy Corgan comes out today with a video and basically announces that soon from Atlanta, Georgia, the first set of tapings will take place Monday, September 30th and Tuesday, October 1st. There's no word yet of where in Atlanta the tapings will take place or where the series will air, but it's a start.
Yeah, this is good. I mean, WWE's been around forever, right? Mm-hmm. And then, you have Impact, Ring of Honor, all have their own TV shows, right? AEW now. You got now NWA. I mean, this is great because there's so much great talent out there that you're going to see a lot of great wrestling on TV no matter where you tune into.
It's nice because I'm, like I said, NWA guy, WCW guy. And if I will watch AEW. I will give them a chance. I will always watch WWE because it's kind of in all of our bloods as wrestling fans. I watch Impact because I know the guys and I want to support the product. But I'm really excited for NWA if they do this right.
Yeah, and I have no idea if it's going to be an hour show, 2-hour show. I know when we got our television show on Impact, it started off as an hour, and then it went up to a different network, and then it went to 2 hours, and it grew from there. So it'll be interesting to see. I'm excited to see what and they better announce it soon because September 30th is like what? How we're in like mid-August right now, almost. Mm-hmm. It's like 6-7 weeks away. So I mean, I think they're going to have a lot of good announcements coming up soon.
Let me back, I guess, armchair quarterback for you as a promoter here, right? You are the owners of NWA, or you're running, or you're a decision maker for NWA. September 30th, October, you're running into WWE moving to Fox in October, AEW launching its television contract. Do you? And if I'm doing it, I'm either hitting the irons now, or I'm going a couple months after to let things settle down. But to jump right in the middle of October with those two major moves, I'm not sure if that's a smart move for NWA.
I think it's a smart move because with all of this movement, that's when you want to take a hold of it, right? So you got, WWE, like you said, moving to Fox. You got AEW debuting. During that mix, people are going to be excited and buzzing about wrestling. That's the time you want to jump in and be like, oh, who's this other group that I've never heard of before? Kind of like the old WWE, WCW days. Like, what is this? I haven't seen this. And maybe NWA could grab some viewers that were meant to watch WWE or AEW or whatever the case may be. So this is good. This is the time you want to move and you want to do something because if they wait too long before it's too late, you might not have any of the viewers that you could snag,
I'm looking at the landscape of wrestling, and I've always said what Impact needs is a major, whether they invade another company or another company tries to invade Impact. I think that angle, it's been so long since WWE botched it. I think it could help two organizations both get over in the right situation. I don't know, and let's say Impact is one of them. I don't think you can go back to the NWA well again. I know that the relationship with Ring of Honor, and listen, publicly it's been noted that at times in the past it's been a rocky relationship. I don't know if you would see NWA and Ring of Honor team up, but there has to be another organization out there where this invasion angle could really put both companies over right now.
And you know what? I kind of disagree with you because I've never, and I'm trying to think when you were talking, I was trying to think if I can think of one. I've never really seen a good invasion angle that actually lasted and people were into, and it didn't seem like, this is okay. NWO. This kind of died up. Yeah, NWO, right? But that was within the own company. Like those guys were signed contract with WCW. I mean, an actual, and when WCW came to WWE, that wasn't a good invasion angle, I didn't think. But if you had like a true invasion angle where two companies got together, I think it would be too hard because you got, and I believe we spoke about this before a while ago on, Like say if Ring of Honor or something came over to Impact, for example, and vice versa, if we were on each other's shows, it just wouldn't work because you have two different, vice presidents, two different head writers that would clash, and it'd be super hard to book that. I mean, you'd have to make a lot of like bargaining, like, okay, this guy will lose, but then this guy has to lose, and so on and so forth and all that. But like NWA is kind of doing it, like not Invasion, but Nick Aldis going around with a belt. Like, he challenged Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes won, so Cody Rhodes came to NWA, and then Nick won it back, and then you had NWA at Ring of Honor, and so on and so forth. So I mean, it's kind of an Invasion angle, not really, but at least they're kind of cross promoting.
All right, well, let's wrap this up. What do you got going on?
Well, we just got Impact tapings next week in Mexico. And then coming up down the line, there's we got Vegas in beginning of September. And then they announced Bound for Glory October 20th in Chicago. So that'll be fun.
Now,
looking forward to that.
Now, listen, I do this all the time, and you big time me. Is Chicago close enough for you to drive?
I'll probably drive to it.
Maybe.
It is close enough to drive, yeah.
All right. Maybe.
It's actually like the same distance as Toronto for us.
All right. Maybe that's something we do together then.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's get the band back together.
Let's get it back together. It's been a while.
All right. Listen, first and foremost, Blue Chew, go to bluechew.com. Use the promo code Perspective. With that, using the promo code, you get your first order for free. Thankfully, Petey Williams does that. I don't do any of that. He gives you your first order for free. But the one thing he won't do, Petey, is?
I won't pay for shipping and handling. That's where I draw the line.
And understandable. So if you go to Blue Chew, you use the promo code Perspective, you get that order, you just pay $5 shipping and handling. And I'm sorry, I've tried to talk to Petey about it, but...
Well, you paid the shipping and handling then.
No, I'm too cheap.
Okay, all right. Didn't think so. Okay.
Petey, you'll do anything for love, but you won't do that.
That's right.
That's
right.
So Blue Chew, it's made with the same active ingredients as Viagra and Cialis, so you know it works. Made in America, so it's cheaper. Done online, so there's no awkward doctor visits, which is so weird. And we had my wife on last week's show. Very great interview. If you missed it, go back and listen to that podcast. She will tell you many times it works, and it works good.
Yeah, she's a gem. She's a sweetheart. I love her. I think you're right for her now. Now that you got the Blue Chew, you are right for her.
We need to get her on another future podcast for an update.
Oh, I already got it in the works.
Okay, good. I'm glad you do. And don't forget Fightful.com. Fightful, if you go to Fightful, you get Wrestling Perspective a day early. Fightful's been breaking news for 3+ years now. They've launched a premium service, which I'm a big fan of. You can get a ton of podcasts over at Fightful Select. They've got, 205 Live, NXT, NXT UK, Impact, Ring of Honor, New Japan, NWA, Q&A shows, alternative and dark match commentary, AEW stuff, even us now. So everything you need, you go to Fightful.com. PD, oh, by the way, Wrestling Perspective helped the show grow. Do you know how it helps grow? Word of mouth.
Absolutely.
I cut you off. I didn't know where you were going.
I don't know where I was going to have you say it.
But I was going to make sure that you were following the same, where I wanted to go with that. So go to WrestlingPerspectivePodcast.com. Any place you get podcasts, that's where Wrestling Perspective is. So go there, subscribe, share it with your friends, tell your friends. We're on Facebook at Wrestling Perspective Podcast, on Twitter at, was it WP_pod?
I thought it was W_pod, something like that.
No, I think it's WP_pod. And
we don't even know. But that's good.
Follow, find it. I don't care. Follow PD at IPD Williams on Twitter and Instagram, right?
Twitter, Instagram, I'm all everywhere you go. I'm IPD Williams,
and you can follow me at Dennis77 Farrell. That's this week's Wrestling Perspective. Hope you enjoy it. I guess we'll see you on the flip side.
Yeah.